Hey, how's it going there, folks? Welcome back here to a Wednesday. Excuse me. I was trying to jump ahead towards Friday. It is Wednesday, March 20th, 2024, 11:35 a.m. here, California time. Looks like a 2.5 earthquake here around the California area is the latest on the globe. We'll check that out here in just a minute. Look at that. Still seeing lava activity here, eruption activity there across the area. Northeast of the Grindavik area. This is day number 5, I believe, of the eruption. Pretty lengthy event going on here. And that's just one webcam, still showing quite a bit of eruptive activity. The lava flow field still showing some slow but gradual movement. Getting some conage going on here as well across this area. They did put up a latest update across the Icelandic Met Office here earlier today at 13:45, and that's going to be about 5 hours or so ago. They mentioned, let's go back here real quick, something that I had mentioned last night here. So this key wording pretty much coincides with what I mentioned on my update last night. How the land inflation across the Svartsengi area raised from the 17th to the 18th in March here, just right around the center of the eruption. But GPS data from the 18th March suggests that the inflation rate is possibly decreasing. This could be due to magma now flowing towards the surface of this area instead of accumulating there at the Svartsengi reservoir area. See right there? And therefore does not accumulate beneath Svartsengi. So we're just getting a constant inflow of magma below the surface there, and that's why we're seeing this long duration eruptive activity take place here. Unlike all the other times where we've seen it last for about a day and then it stops, clearly we got a decent flow from the deeper levels of this area underneath this region to the surface areas like what we're seeing today. So this should continue for a little while. I'm not seeing any major decline. It always starts off as spectacular, right? A lot of eruptive activity. That's due to the pressurization underneath the surface of the magma that's been accumulated. So there it's obviously going to look more dramatic, with these higher flows of lava and more, more eruptive activity from a visual perspective. But it's still consistent. It's still going on here. So we're looking at the gradual flow from underneath the deeper areas and around the Svartsengi area reservoir to the surface here. It's just kind of like a river, trying to find its way out to the sea. It's just flowing freely from the deeper regions underneath to the surface area. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, if it's going to continue for quite some time, or maybe it could seal up once again and repressurize. We'll have to watch that. This morning there from the National Land Survey of Iceland, looks like they are trying to get the estimate of the lava field. Looks like they'll provide that once the data has been processed. Let's see, in the background to the left is Grindavik, and to the right is Svartsengi area. This is actually a pretty decent image here. Let's check this out. Oh, this will work. It's pretty neat. So there's the current eruptive activity. You got the Blue Lagoon and the power plant over here. There is a flow of lava going over that way, a little bit more further north here. It would be downward on the screen. But that, I don't think it's even touched the barrier that's protecting this area, the Blue Lagoon and the power plant. So that's good. I think the main flow right now in the area that they're watching is this flow to the south. You can kind of see this river of lava accumulating on top of the previous lava that was out here just from the start of it. There's really no other way to go except for building on top of that previous flow. There's the older areas there from back in January, north of Grindavik, and one little section that opened up there in the town of Grindavik. But on this image here, it does look like it's the advancement has stopped, but the accumulation of magma on top of this previous accumulation area or lava, the old lava area, is continuing with the ongoing eruption that's taken place there. So really interesting to see how this is going to play out. Again, there's a power plant. You can see some of the steam there from the hydrothermal operations, and I don't see any activity out there as far as any flow goes. So it looks like for now the main section of eruptive activity is at the south end of this fissure region. The updated hazard map, is this put out today? Let's see here. That was put out from yesterday. There is a little bit of potential gas distribution out here in terms of volcanic gases. They did put out a little map here. Got a little switch of the wind compared to the last couple days. We are looking at more of a south wind, creating some of that polluted air from the volcano northward. It does look like it's staying away from these areas, but getting a little close. But the wind is basically due out of the south right now. Yeah, definitely got to watch for that. You don't want to be breathing in any of that stuff. Now, I want to show you guys the windy map here that has the SO2 emissions within it. You can check out and see where these volcanic gases are heading. Now, over the past 5 days or so, we've seen a broad distribution of the SO2 emissions from that volcano circulating out here across various weather systems. High pressure can pick it up, low pressure can pick it up, and distribute it all across the area, and that's what we're seeing out here as it gets wrapped up in the weather patterns. Very interesting to watch. There's right now there's just minimal flow coming out of the volcanic activity right there along the Reykjanes Peninsula, but prior to that, we've seen a lot, and that's why it's all up here. This is the SO2 map showing that distribution there of that volcanic gas. And these, once it gets caught up in the jet stream here, it can get advanced pretty far. This may be not from Iceland, maybe it is, but either way, it's up there in the atmosphere, and a lot of times this can get caught up in the systems here and rain down, some particles and stuff like that. So it's not a huge thick amount of activity that's widely distributed, but it is thick in some of these other regions where the darkness is. See, 100 mg in certain regions out here. So that's just a heads up on that. It's going to be interesting to watch to see if this continues for days, if weeks, maybe months, depending on the continual flow of magma there from down below. It's definitely unlike the past couple eruptions here. All right, earthquake activity. What have we had all night? Let's go ahead and start in California. Did see some activity south of the border here with a 3.6. The area of Southern California. Looks like mainly some 2s and 1s out here. Getting a little activity on the North American side here of the plate boundary. That's the San Andreas Fault. Really not looking at any major swarming going on here today, but just a handful of quakes there. Near the Isabella Reservoir, Lake Isabella area, Bodfish area. We did see a 3.3 this morning, and also a couple other quakes prior to that. About 7 or 8 kilometers deep there, so it's a little bit of kind of a little bit of a swarm going on there. Up in the southern end here of the Sierra Nevada mountains, Ridgecrest area, seeing some activity as well. Around the Long Valley supervolcano, but out of the Caldera region, some fairly shallow surface activity taking place here. A couple 1s. There's that movement across the San Andreas Fault here. This is the creeping segment. Definitely has been active over the past few days or so. Nothing big, just quite a few 1s and 2s and the occasional 3. Continue to watch that. Bay Area fairly quiet. The rest of Northern California here, not too much going on. One little lonesome earthquake this morning, it looks like, a 2.5 just on the plate boundary here. The Mendocino Fault Zone, about 21 kilometers deep. Idaho area, looks like a lot of this from yesterday, although we did see some more smaller quake activity up here towards the Montana region, it looks like. They got this centered right around the Lima, I think. Montana area, a couple ones stirring up out here. There's, of course, got to remember this is mountainous areas. There's a lot of fault systems out here across the Bitterroot Range and up into the Montana area. Of course, we got Yellowstone over here as well. Really not seeing anything showing up here across Yellowstone, but let's double check the Yellowstone area. See if anything's going on. I think some of the activity there we're seeing on the chart from last night is from the Idaho earthquakes. Not big ones, but they're just, in close proximity, and these seismograph stations can pick up very sensitive ground movements. But aside from that, I don't know what this is. This kind of showed up the other night as well. I don't know if it's wind or what. Also shown up here on this seismograph station. Kind of hard to decipher this, if it's just wind or ice or snow blowing around. I'm sure it's still pretty cold up there. It doesn't look like earthquake activity, but we'll continue to watch that. Let me look here at the windy map. I want to see what we got up there for wind in general. Lower that. Wind gusts. Definitely a little bit of wind going on here across the eastern side of the park. Gust up to about 27 miles per hour or so. Earlier this morning, it doesn't look like so much wind was taking place there, but it is cold. A lot of times we can get these ice quakes building up on some of the exposed seismograph stations out there. So possible that's what we've seen. Otherwise, we'll just check back on it. But it seems to take place when we get the wind blowing and some cold air moving into the area, which looks like that's the case here today. We'll get to weather here in just a little bit. But earthquake activity, pretty much non-existent there around the Yellowstone area. Eastern portion of the country, pretty quiet. Been hearing a lot of chat and stuff about the eclipse coming up here that's going to cause the New Madrid zone to create a big earthquake. A lot of stuff going on. A little bit of fear mongering going on with the total eclipse. We didn't have any big earthquakes up in Oregon last time we've seen it. It will be within the path of the New Madrid seismic zone in terms of the totality area, but take that with a grain of salt, folks. There's really, the relationship, it's a whole new topic, but a relationship between the gravitational pull of the moon and the sun. Could it have an effect on the plate dynamics? I thought possibly, right? When you get the alignment going on between the sun and the moon, we'll just see what happens, right? But again, a lot of people pulling out the fear-mongering book when it comes to the totality that's coming up here very shortly on April 8th. Earthquake activity across the Hawaii area. A handful of smaller quakes here today, mostly down into the deeper regions underneath the Pahala area, but also getting a little bit of movement across the western area of the Big Island. A couple twos stirring up out there. No major changes there across the Kilauea volcano, but let's go double check for verification. And, well, still sitting at a yellow. Really not seeing any major change going on. Their weekly update was put out yesterday, and they really haven't mentioned anything about any major changes going on there in terms of the eruptive activity. We've seen that little sharp rise here in inflation, but that's been a period of activity here for the past month or so, where we get these little stair-stepping events going on here. This is the last 30 days of activity. Notice this gradual rise here. Each one potentially getting bigger than the other event. But again, compared to, probably about 2 months ago when we seen that huge displacement of magma, this is nothing. We're not even at the level where we were at before. So we've seen a huge displacement of magma, and it kind of went off to the southwest rift zone and towards the Loihi Seamount area. But we've never really recovered that previous level of inflation. All right, let's go back to earthquake activity, see what else we got out here. Anything going on across the Pacific? Looks a lot quieter out here today. Earthquake 3D globe here showing some, looks like a fairly deep earthquake here into the Izu Trench, 4.2. Nothing showing up here on the USGS map, but we do have some deep activity here. A little bit of spotty activity south of Taiwan, it looks like. Some 3 stirring up. And a handful of deep quakes here across the Molucca Sea area, it looks like. Back across New Zealand area, these guys getting hit pretty good today with some surface adjustment going on. Even areas across Australia. Quite a few 3 stirring up here in this region at the plate boundary levels. Let's go see what's going on. Been waiting for some large-scale movement to take place here across New Zealand, but they're just having a whole bunch of 3s up and down the board. So we'll go over here to the all magnitudes map here. Take a look at the activity. There's a 3-pointer about an hour or so ago right there on the plate boundary in between the North and South Island area. Some 2s and 3s. Again, scattered up and down the area of the plate boundary. It looks like it's off the plate boundary as well, around South Island area. 69 kilometers for that 3.3 about an hour ago. Definitely a lot of activity stirring up out here in the last 12 hours, it looks like. It wasn't this active here last night, so we definitely got some decent movement going on there across New Zealand. Deeper areas up north here along the Kermadec Trench for that 3.6, 300 kilometers. There's another deep one just underneath the North Island area, it looks like, or just offshore, 212 for that 2.4. So, yeah, we'll just continue to watch it. I know it's definitely showing a little bit more activity down there today. Not so much across the Fiji area westward along this plate boundary, but definitely getting some adjustment going on here across New Zealand. And again, they've been having a lot of deep activity here underneath the North Island area recently. And I say to keep watching for some adjustment. We're definitely seeing a lot of adjustment here, but not anything in terms of any moderate to large earthquake activity, just 3s. 3 seem to be the magic number out here across the New Zealand area. So we'll continue to watch that. Down here across the area of Australia, a couple, well, at least one 3.6 and a 2.5 there in the last 24 hours as well. So we'll continue to watch the New Zealand area. Further up across the plate boundary here north of the Himalayas, let's see what we got there, see if the USGS is picking up on that. Looks like that is going to be a 4.9 up into the China area. Pakistan did see a 5.4 yesterday. That's a pretty decent earthquake there for them. Fairly shallow as well. Mediterranean regions there. Not quite as active as yesterday, but we definitely got some 2s and 3s stirring up out here around Turkey and the Greece area. One earthquake down in the, looks like, well, let's see where that's at. That's a 4.1. Not showing up on the USGS, but I'm kind of curious to see exactly where that's at. This is the EMSC CSEM model showing the worldwide earthquake activity. EMSC has a pretty decent reporting system out here. Looks like in the Zimbabwe area for that 4-pointer. Earlier this morning, my time anyway, that's just about a few hours or so ago. Aside from that, really not seeing anything else going on out here across the Africa region. And on the north side here of the plate boundary where Iceland sits, we'll have to continue to watch that. There's been a handful of earthquakes way up there at the top. This would be north of Greenland as well. So we'll definitely continue to watch the area around Iceland. I think with the continual flow of magma from below. Over the past couple eruptions, obviously, we've seen a day or so at the most of eruptive activity at the surface, and then accumulation of magma at the Svartsengi reservoir. And as that builds up, we see about a 30-day time period before eruptive activity takes place again. But it's bypassing the Svartsengi reservoir and going straight to the surface area. So this could continue for a little while. This has not slowed down at all that I can see. There may be periods of quietness, but even compared to yesterday, this looks about the same. Far as the general fountaining and the flow of magma up to the surface, definitely a longer duration event going on here this time around. If you're curious about this webcam, it's livefromiceland.is. This website has lots and lots of cool looking webcams in many different locations. Here's the Blue Lagoon over here. Not seeing anybody out there, which is probably a good thing while the eruption is ongoing. And the Svartsengi power plant area here. What is that? Where'd that go? Did you guys see that? Right there? What are those things? Over here too, see? Maybe that's a little weird. You guys see those? Looks like it's leaving a little trail or something here. That's really weird. Okay. Maybe there's a bunch of them too. Birds maybe? I don't know. It's a little weird. Okay, anyway. Yeah. I mean, it looks like some of the some of that previous lava flow here that we've seen from this most eruptive activity is still smoking a little bit out here across the northeast of the power plant. But for the most part, these guys are fairly safe unless we get some further eruptive activity out there. But they do have a berm around there, so that's a good sign. And again, the Blue Lagoon out here. And some weird stuff flying around in the air, it looks like. Those got to be birds, right? They make some sharp adjustments, though. How do they do that? Oh yeah, they're birds. See, that was a bird. It flew in much closer to the camera that time. All right, let's see what else we got here. Let's go check out space weather, see what's going on here. I know we got probably about 4 big active regions coming into view. I think we're going to be looking at some decent flare activity here soon. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. A couple coming around the eastern limb there. Let's check out these sunspots and see what's going on here. 3615, 3614 here, and 2 other regions behind that. The latest image, magnetogram image here, shows this one getting quite complex here. A lot of different dots of colors here, indicating some complexity going on with this core. Also, wow. This one over here looks like it's advancing as well as it's about ready to drift off the western limb, figures. But this is a main area I think we got to watch right now. This area up here is a large, massive sunspot region, but it's only got a little core within it and not quite complex as this one. A couple regions behind that as well look like they may be growing in complexity. We'll continue to watch that as the flare threat will be elevated here, I'm sure. Looks like they bumped up the flare threat to a 10% X-flare probability, M-flare at 45, and C-flare around 99% chance or so. So definitely getting some complexity going on with these sunspot regions here. It's getting quite active once again. Far as the auroras go, well, I think that's supposed to be tonight between the 18 and 24 UTC time, right? March 20th. UTC time currently right now, yeah, March 20th, about almost 1900. So we should be seeing some auroras take place here, probably about the wrong time. It could be any time, though, between now and tomorrow morning, I guess. But I'm really not seeing any signs of it hitting the planet yet. But we are expected to get just a slight, very slight glancing blow from a weak CME that was produced here days ago. kind of shut off towards the Earth direction. But really not. I'm not expecting much here, folks. Hopefully we can get that to change. Not wishing for any doom and gloom, but wishing for some decent auroras out there. We do have a coronal hole out here, it looks like. We'll be facing the Earth here very soon. Right here. Center disk of the sun. So we could see some enhancement from that as far as the space weather activity goes in the days ahead. But for now, I think we'll watch 3615, 3614, a couple other regions here as well. I'm going to do a little test here later today. I got all my equipment set up here for when I go out to live stream the total eclipse on April 8th in Texas. I'll be right in the totality line with 4 minutes and 24 seconds, one of the highest areas there in Texas of seeing the that blackout totality. Pretty lengthy, 4 minutes and 24 seconds. That's pretty decent. So I'm going to be testing out all my equipment. I tried it out yesterday and came into a big malfunction. So that's why it's good to always test out your stuff before you go on any major trip to live stream a major event. But I will be testing that out today. So if you see a live stream, a secondary live stream pop up saying solar eclipse test or something like that, that's just me testing the equipment. And of course, you're welcome to jump on, give me any hints at how the video is looking, or maybe even the sound of it. We'll do that a little bit later this afternoon. Just a heads up. As far as Storm Prediction Center goes, not a whole lot of severe weather out here. We have a marginal risk for some severe weather, mainly due to a 2% zone of probability around Woodward area, it looks like, there in Oklahoma. Some wind and hail threats as well. Tomorrow is a little bit different. They got a slight risk here across a big, not necessarily a big area, because Texas is big in itself, but around the highly populated area of Austin, looks like Houston, San Antonio in there as well for a slight risk. I think that's due to the hail. Looks like 15% chance of large hail, but also closer to the Gulf here. We got 2% zone of tornado probability, so may see some tornadoes out there, maybe even some water spouts out there in the Gulf, looking out towards that area. That'd be kind of cool to see, pending no one's out there on the water. All right, what else we got here, folks? California. Let me go over here and check out the what I want to do here real quick is see how the Pacific Jet is looking. We haven't checked that in a little while. Upper air dynamics. So right now we got a split flow going on. One to the south, that's bringing all the moisture there in the southeast and Texas area, and one going up north, bringing colder air down into a good portion of the country. What we look for in terms of west coast activity is a linear fashion of this jet that would steer the storms that way, and that looks like that's what's going to take place here as we finish off the month of March. Look at that. A more zonal flow here, bringing storminess and rain back to the California area with low pressure. See these multiple rounds of low pressure dipping right here. But it looks like it's starting to shoot up more north here as we head into April. But we'll continue to watch that. Either way, that's going to bring us some rainfall out here across the west coast. If we look at the total accumulated precipitation, let's see what we got here for the map. A little rain shadow pretty much right where I live. Can you imagine that? We're going to get some rain, and then you see a map like this. Rain shadow, not cool. It's almost like living in, well, it's because the storms are coming down from the northwest or so. We'll have to see if that holds up, though. Either way, it does look like the west coast is going to get some decent rain. Quite a few inches of rain there along the coastline of Oregon, up in the Sierra Nevada mountains as well. I'm hopeful that we'll get a little bit more rain. It's always nice to get some more greenery in before the warmer and hotter temperatures kick in, coming up in April and May. So April showers bring May flowers, right? Normally I can say that doesn't apply to California here, but if we get some decent rain here in April, then that takes place. Normally we could be in the 80s and 90s out here in Northern California in April. So I'll take a little bit of coolness. All right, what else we got here, folks? I think that's about it. Let me double check the seismographs. They look pretty quiet. Not a whole lot of activity stirring up right now. But I guess we'll see what happens here throughout the day. Wednesday, goodness, got a couple more days here till Friday, but we can make it. Have yourself a good day, folks. Again, I will be out a little bit here testing out my live stream. It'll be a secondary live stream where I'm going to have you might want to tune in because I'm going to have a telescopic lens here at the sun with a solar filter, so we'll be able to see the sunspots that are up there right now, and also a broad view of my landscape here. And I'm going to integrate those two into a live stream format in preparation of the total eclipse that's coming up. So I think it'd be really cool. A major malfunction yesterday, almost caught everything on fire. It was not good. I don't know what happened, but somewhere there was a weak link, so to speak, in some of the wiring. But I think I got that sorted out, and we're going to try that out again this afternoon. So tune in if you can. We'll catch you guys back out here in a couple hours for that test. Have a good one, folks. Enjoy your Wednesday.